Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you all good. Thank you. Sorry for the delay. Had a little issue we had to take care of first. Yeah.
Okay, so we are live.
Okay.
So,
Is everybody present? That's what we're expecting.
yes.
All right. And I will open the meeting for the Special Events Advisory Committee for Thursday, April 1st, 2021. Consistent with the governor's orders, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time. So thank you very much. And we'll get to our first agenda item, which is the approval of the minutes for March 4th, 2021, sorry. Everybody review those. Any comments, discussion? Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 4th, 2021.
All right, discussion? Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, I didn't see who seconded it.
This is Brian.
Brian, okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Oh, we have to do a
Roll call.
Sorry, Joanne.
Roll call vote. Okay, so Bill Sanborn,
Yes.
Brian Newman,
Yes.
Chad Johnson,
Yes.
Joe Cahill,
Yes.
Joe Fitzgerald,
Yes.
okay, Phil Harvey,
Yes.
okay, and I believe Mark Cole is absent. And I say yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, so Bill, what you have to do is you have to announce the members of the committee because we're remote participation.
Can you have the roll call in front of you? Can you announce who they are? I don't have one in
Okay,
front of me.
all
You
right,
might-
I know we did the roll call, but you're gonna do that at the beginning. Okay, the members
Please.
present, Joanne Sino, City Clerk, Brian Newman, Food Inspector, Chad Johnson, Assistant Harbor Master, Phil Harvey, Fire Department, Joe Fitzgerald, Assistant Police Chief, Bill Sanborn, Building Inspector, Joe Cahill, Community Development Director. And did I miss anybody else as a committee member? And Mark Cole is absent today. Okay, all right, we're all set. Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to note that the mayor has joined us too today.
Okay, I don't see her.
I have her on.
All right, okay.
Okay.
And did you know Chris? Did somebody know Chris?
Oh, yeah,
Sorry, forgot Chris too.
Garanza from the mayor's office.
Thank you for joining us, Chris. All right. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do these two things, Joanne, whether they're two things are the same, the two items are the same item. The Special Events Advisory Committee to discussion and decision on the date to open up the online permitting and acceptance applications. But that's really related to the guidelines that went into effect on March 22nd, right?
so yeah, they're kind of like interrelated. So I guess maybe we should start off with the guidelines, see what's
All right.
guideline in place right now.
Okay, then I'm going to throw Brian right under the bus on this one because his boss told me he knows everything there is to know about the guidelines and opening back up. So if you would, Brian, can you give us a little update, please?
Can you put quotes around the? So outdoor events are now open up to amounts up to, I believe it's 150 outdoors and 100 indoors. Some of these don't apply to us, but amusement parks and theme parks, indoor and outdoor water parks aren't allowed to open. Street festivals and parades and agricultural festivals are not allowed to open. Road races and other large outdoor organized amateur or professional athletic events are not allowed to open. and bars, dance clubs, and nightclubs. Sorry, Bill. And beer gardens and breweries and wineries and distilleries are still not allowed to open.
Oh, wait. Got a call.
Oh wait, you're under beer gardens. I'm sorry.
That's what I. All right.
So I think that kind of kills road races for a while until
Yeah.
stage 4, part 2. I think that's what they're calling it. Phase 4, part 2.
I wasn't aware that road races were on there, but that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right. Are you finished with that, Brian?
That's basically what the gist of the next step is, but we still don't know when step 2 is going to start. We can get an announcement any day now saying step 2 is going to start in May. So it kind of, I think we just have to put that those festivals and road races on hold, obviously, until the governor opens it up again.
So on step 2, what does that allow?
It's basically almost back to normal with face masks on. That's and maybe some more limits on size of events, but that's
We don't-
basically it.
But they haven't released any of that guidance yet, so we don't,
Yeah, we
No,
can't.
Brian. Yeah, and they're not talking about that right away, right?
No,
I mean,
I don't know.
there's no suggestion we might see that, by August or anything, right?
No, last time they did an opening, we didn't hear anything until the morning that they announced it. So
Okay.
Okay.
Chris, I see you waving your hand. Do you have something you know about that or nothing?
No, as you might know, I'm between a bunch of different offices here, so sometimes people are chatting with me while I'm on a call. But I do want to share that on the mass.gov /COVID-19 website, they do have some updated PDFs and guidance that they applied for a lot more categories as I'm trying to get this COVID update out today. So in general, I'm just, I'm always going back to that page, but just to be clear, I don't have any insights either about the phase 2, unfortunately.
All right. Jill, you got any? I know you've been involved with the downtown community and stuff. You have any comments you can add to us at this time?
no, I don't know, same as Brian, I don't know anything more than what we have. I'd like to think they'd give us some lead time on this because things have to be planned, but who knows? The only thing I've been thinking about that I think the committee should discuss, and as you guys know, I was one of the people who said I don't want to start taking applications and end up in the administrative nightmare that was last year. But I think we might want to discuss, I think we need to it would be good to send some sort of communication to the public, whether it be, we will contemplate events, we'll accept applications for events starting after the 4th of July based upon the governor's orders or something. It's getting to the point where, we thought by now we would know more. And I would hate to not have it. So now we're getting in more of a crunch time. So I don't know, I just throw that out for discussion. And I will say I only choose after July 4th as it's kind of an arbitrary date, but it gives a couple more months of vaccination under our belts. It keeps us from having to necessarily, St. Peter's Fiesta and the Horribles Parade are 2 of our largest events. It gets us past those. So anyway, just throw that out for discussion.
I like that idea, Jill, myself, and just in terms of, I'm sure it's between you and I and the collector's office getting killed about beach stickers and Fiesta and events. And I think just having, it's enough far away. What I like about your idea, Jill, it's enough far away that it's something that people can at least have a mental check-in of when to kind of have another expectation, but it's enough such that if there is new guidance that comes out between then or as we get closer, I think it provides the flexibility, but the community is hot to trot, as we know. So I like your idea a lot.
Yeah, I'm thinking with the Fiesta and with the Horribles Parade, if we're not hearing anything by the 1st of May of changing and allowing something to happen, they're going to be gone anyways. They're too big of an event to plan it for last second. Too much goes into that, and they're going to have to be rescheduled to probably Labor Day or something like that. if they decide to do it. I believe Joanne's been talking to Joe Novello about their discussion. You're gonna, do on the St. Peter's Fiesta, Joanne?
No, I don't. He was waiting to hear from us. And he just said that they would have to make a decision by May 1st. But I do want to ask something of Jill. Fireworks for July 3rd. Okay. It's Barry Pett reached out to me. So if you're doing, till after the 4th of July, where does that fall in?
Yeah, I think we'll have to tell. And again, we could choose a different date. This is just my instinct, and Brian probably hears more of this from, when we talk in the summer planning meetings, the public health perspective is we don't think we'll be there yet this summer, which is why I figured if we're going to open up I guess my suggestion is that we would open up taking applications, but only for events that happen after the 4th. But that's just from the conversations I'm hearing. So that would mean no fireworks, or the only other question for Barry would be, and for the mayor's office is, is there a way to do fireworks but not allow people? I don't know. Like, is there a way to do fireworks without the whole?
Yeah, and Jill, I know
gather
Barry.
everywhere?
I know Barry was trying to talk to the mayor about, like, I don't want to say a virtual event because it would still be happening, but to encourage people almost to like drive by. And I said, that's a lot more work. So I don't know, a lot more. And I don't know. So, and that's kind of why I like your idea, frankly, is that that's a big holiday weekend that we get after. And so getting those applications and keeping the expectations there, even if it's a policy that we clearly say, this will change once we're in alignment with public health, right? Like that's our goal, is public health and public safety. So we're going to follow the state. So
yeah, and that's been my message to anyone who's asked is we haven't made a city policy, but at the end of the day, it will follow the state. So even if we say events happening after July 4th, like Chris said, if they change it earlier, then if they can get their stuff together quickly, good for them. And if they change it later, then sorry, you're canceled.
Okay.
All right, so back to the fireworks. I was talking to somebody the other day who wanted to have a special event, sort of to end a COVID event. And they were talking about having fireworks and a big party, and had to do more retail to attract for retail business. And the first thing I said was, no, there's going to be no fireworks because they attract too large of a crowd. And his response was more of, well, the idea of fireworks is people, they could be seen from around town. So people could have different smaller groups around town, which again is a way maybe we could have the fireworks. But the real question becomes is, how do we control it? How do we assure that there's no groups of over 150 people? Do we send Joe's guys out there and break up every party because there's 51 people there? They're going to be out counting groups. I don't know how you control that. I don't know if somebody could figure out how to control that. Personally, I think as soon as there's one major sponsor event, we're going to see tens of thousands of people who are just dying to get out and get somewhere and do something. So I think it's going to be a problem. But that was just something that was mentioned again, like Joe was mentioning to it. If there's a way to do it, we can entertain anything that's a way to. But I don't see how you're really gonna, not something like the 4th of July fireworks. Everybody's gonna be out looking for that.
I'm just saying, because he's been contacting me, and I told him after April 1st. And he said that he was going in, and I don't know if he talked to the mayor. When he talked to me, he kind of like indicated that he already spoke to the mayor when he came in and spoke to me after that. But I don't know if he was just looking to talk to them, and he gave me the whole, lowdown on what he wanted to do and everything, which was beautiful. But there's still concern with the,
the hearts and the shape of the fireworks, and it was very detailed, right, Madam Clerk?
It was, and it's very nice, but.
It's very nice. It's nice to hear it so many times across great venues, so.
But on that, so I have another question on, not only like the fireworks, if we're all done with that issue, there's another one that was brought up. It's a private event. in which, I don't know if it's the same one that you're talking about, Bill. They wanted to do fireworks to celebrate
I'm sure it is, yes, I'm sure it is.
the anniversary. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you take the fireworks equation out of there, and it's on private property, how are we going to handle that, even though it would impact probably the traffic and maybe the noise?
Well, private property is very clear. The regs are very clear. A private event venue is different than a private house. So at your house, you can still, I think 25 is the number still. Right?
Yep.
So if it's their house, they shouldn't have enough people that it impacts traffic, because that would be against guidance. And if it's an event venue, again, we wouldn't normally bring, there's 150 people weddings at every event venue in the city on a regular basis. They don't come in front of us. So it shouldn't come in front of us if it's on private property and it's within the regulations of how many people.
Okay.
If it's on private property, we have a lot of requests for weddings at Stagefoot Park. We have a lot of
We
requests.
are not, as of our last summer planning meeting, and I have asked in the mayor's office, I believe will keep me in the loop on this. They're working on this right now. We are not issuing any permits at Stage Fort Park.
Correct.
Okay, and that's throughout the whole summer, through Labor Day.
That's the policy as of now. So if that changes, that will affect here. But right now, nobody's getting you can't get married at Stage Fort Park. You can't have a funeral at Stage Fort Park. You can't.
Okay, so if somebody wants to have an event, which I believe you can have an event up to 150 people, right?
At an event venue, not at your home.
At an event venue. Are we going to entertain that right now? Start taking permits, applications for those?
We wouldn't. Why would we? We've never done that before. There's weddings every weekend at
Just
every
delivered
event
to
venue.
the DPW, I thought.
No, and an event venue. So if Beauport, Beauport, Cruiseport,
Oh.
I don't even know what.
But if there's somewhere they want to do it, if there's somewhere they want to do it on a private, on
That's not
public
us.
properties, up to some of the other events we have, right? So, so we're saying nothing. We're not taking any
No,
permits,
it's not
period.
our job to permit those, Bill.
But no, I'm saying if somebody wants to have an event and it's under 150 people, are we going to entertain that?
On public property?
Yes.
No, not at this time. Not at this time.
Okay, so no permits under public property.
Not at this time. That's particularly Stage Fort Park. But like I said, if we
So
want to have that
if-
discussion to
If Hammond
potentially,
Castle wants to have an event with 150 people,
that's Hammond Castle. We wouldn't.
we
have-
do.
Private.
We do a lot of times for that. This event committee is supposed
never
to
done
take what the impact is for public safety in the area. So yes, when Hammond's Castle has their night days and their Halloween parties and stuff, we do have them come for the events committee because it impacts that whole area.
If it's
something's
traffic, not a
going to
wedding,
impact the
Bill.
events, then we have them come before us because of the events. So it's not always limited to just public events. We do get private things that we get involved in too because of the impact on services.
Well, then if you believe that, if the chairs deem that it has an impact on public services, but it takes place on private property, then yeah, they should still come before us because they're within the guidance.
Right. Well, my
Do you
question
agree,
is,
Brian?
my question becomes is, do we want to allow anybody who we may have done in the past or people who want to, that would fall into those categories to start applying for permits or not? Are we not going to do any?
If,
That's the question.
when it comes to weddings, I don't think we have any kind of,
Sure.
it wouldn't
It
matter.
doesn't have to be weddings. Let's
But if
forget weddings
if
totally.
Hammond Castle wanted to sell tickets to, say, a wine tasting type event where there's 150 people and they need to close the road because they were using their parking lot, then I think it needs to come in front of us. But they're not going to be able to hold any road races. But if it's a big event that they're selling tickets to and they need to do road closures or need somebody from EMS over there, I think that's when they need to see us. But otherwise, I don't see why.
Well, I just want to tell you that they've had their Halloween event, which has impacted the traffic because they park on the side of the road and they've never come before
Yes,
CF.
I've never seen them, but
No, they've never come and,
We did. We used to have the Halloween used to come all the time to us when we first started. They've just gotten away from it in the past. because of the impact of the traffic. They used to use the buses at Stagefoot Park, and they'd park there and they busted people over, and we looked at it every year and went through it every year. Just in the last few years, they haven't come to us for that.
Mhm. Yeah, because I guess we got a couple of complaints, and that's how it came to our attention. Well, not last year because they didn't do it, but the year before, because there was cars parked all over the road because they couldn't handle, and they were using Stage 4 Park without permission and shuffling people back and forth. So someone did bring that to our attention. So, and a counselor brought it to my attention too, and she informed the Hammond Castle if they were going to do that and use Stage 4 Park to shuffle people back and forth for their Halloween event, they had to go through special events.
Yes, they should be going through it, yes.
Yeah.
And the same when they have their night days. I'm not sure what the event's called, but
Yeah. If they're
we've been-
allowed to, if they're allowed by law, by guidance to have an event, and we ask them to come to us because it has an impact, we should let them come to us. Yeah. I mean, if they're allowed by law to have it,
Okay. So
I
my,
think, I mean, that's up for discussion, but I wouldn't want to, there's no reason to get in their way if the guidance says not to,
okay.
in my opinion.
So I've had inquiries. Most of them are road races, so which is not going to apply here because we're not going to accept it. What about the annual garden tour and the back shore?
The
That's a
Ryan
private.
Agricultural Festival.
Does it come out? It's a private event, but it does impact, the traffic and everything.
I mean, that sounds like an
wanted to-
agricultural festival to me, but
It's not agricultural because it is gardening. So, but
what's the date of it, Joanne? I mean,
It's
if
in It's in July. I think it's the first week of July.
I think that's a question that we'd have to ask, bring up at one of the state level meetings, would be my guess, is what does this
Okay.
fall under?
Okay.
Because how are they going to manage right? So they're at private homes, how many people at any one private home at any one time, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
Do they really want, that's the other thing that I'm trying to get through to people is and it's one of the reasons that I brought to the mayor's office about Stage 4 Park is so technically it's an event venue. And if you are the event venue, then you are responsible for all the guidance. And if something goes wrong, you are also responsible for all the contact tracing. So to me, why would a homeowner even remotely consider opening up their home to people? I don't know, but if she wants to keep pushing, Brian or I could try to get a further clarification, but
Well,
she'd
yeah.
have she'd have to have the whole plan in front of us first,
Well, this was in January, so I haven't spoken to her since about this matter. She came on another matter, and she didn't bring this one up. So, and they want to do the one at the private home again in October off Mount Pleasant Avenue. On that, and I told her at this time in January we weren't accepting anything. I don't know if maybe she's changed her plans due to COVID still being with us. I would have to reach out to her again or have her reach out to me because I don't really
I would
want to.
wait. People should reach out to you, Joanne. You've got enough to do.
No, because we have the UCAN races. He understands it's not open, but he wants the approval just in case so they can get ready to go. So that's, but
That would fall under if this committee decided, that would fall under if it's after July 4th, we will consider your permit. And I think it would be the same as then we're back to last year though, and only if it's allowed under state guidance.
So if I may, I'm looking at the Phase 4 reopening order number 66, which was posted a couple of weeks ago, which specifically outlines step 2. And in step 2, they include things of street festivals, parades, agricultural festivals, road races, beer gardens, dancing, amusement parks. I think we should refer to the actual state guidance because everything we've talked about seems to fall under step 2, which goes back to Jill's point. It's all moot until it's not. And I don't know what to do about that until then.
because the majority of the inquiries I'm getting still are road races. The Lone Gull,
The
you
state
can,
outlines it specifically. You
Yeah.
can point them to the
Road
state.
races
That's
are
what I
not
would
allowed.
recommend.
So we're
Yeah.
not even
Okay.
entertaining till they
so
are.
another issue then, it's not a road race, but it's Dogtown.
Same thing, a road race.
Okay,
That is a road race, yeah.
Yep.
all right.
That's
Road
a
race.
They're not
professionally
saying,
organized sporting event or something else that those
Yeah.
words say.
But
But
they
again,
did-
the question to the
but they
committee
did
is,
do it last year, right? They did do it as, they did it as a
they
virtual.
don't want to do it again, and they're moving it to October 2nd. So they
Yeah, so
still
it's
have
still gonna-
time after July,
It
but,
would still fall into a road race and wouldn't be allowed.
all right, because they're pushing, and I just said no. And they wanted me to save the date, and I said no.
I'll
Not
share,
good.
I'll share the documentation that I'm looking at with this board, and I'm pretty sure this will be a part of our updates as part of the weekly COVID updates too. But Jill, I think outdoor, large or otherwise organized amateur or professional group athletic events might cover us to help with that. If road races doesn't suffice.
Okay.
So just a question, nothing to do with anything. If professional athletic events are not allowed. Professional-
Can't hear you.
I know what you mean, Bill, with the ballparks and the football.
That's right.
Yeah.
If professional events are not allowed, then how
Yeah.
do the professional football, baseball, everybody else, hockey, everybody else is playing and they having fans now? How are they playing?
I think Boston did some sort of special waiver, but I can't speak to that, and it's a good question. I don't know. Because it
Just
says
asking.
amusement parks, theme parks, indoor, outdoor water parks, indoor, outdoor ball pits. So it's a good question about how certain major leagues can do it. So I don't know.
Okay.
So
Anybody else?
from what I'm hearing right now is we're not willing to open up our permitting for any events whatsoever at this point. No matter the
that's
size,
not,
where,
that's not what
what.
I put on, that's not my suggestion. My
That's what I
suggestion
thought we
is,
were talking about 10 minutes ago and you
No,
were
you
against
missed the
open up
beginning.
anything
you
until
weren't,
July.
you weren't paying attention.
I was
I
paying
suggest
attention.
that
You weren't
we,
paying attention.
I suggest that we, I want to take a vote on that, anybody?
I think we should vote on it and get the consensus of the committee.
So
On
I'll make a
Jill-
motion.
Yeah, Jill's motion.
I'll make a motion that we start accepting applications for events that take place after July 4th, 2021. With note that only as allowed, which will only be allowed to actually take place as ruled by the state of Massachusetts.
Anybody second that?
second,
Further discussion.
just for note, Monday, July 5th is the red letter federal holiday.
Good to know.
So you could get flooded with applications for that day, i.e. fireworks, parades, whatnots.
I could amend my motion if we want to do that. I'd be happy to do that.
No, can I ask a question? I'm sorry I'm late. I was doing some budget work.
Yep, certainly.
So if I'm gathering it right, we're talking about whether we're going to allow permits at like Stagecourt Park and other places like that, correct?
So Mark, what we talked about was, so no, Stage 4 Park is separate in that, unless the mayor changes her mind. So my understanding is there are no at this time, no permits are being issued for Stage 4 Park.
Okay,
This is for all these this is for all these other festivals, Schooner Festival, road races. I don't know what other ones, but not necessarily that take place on Stage 4 Park property. And that goes back to, and you missed this part of the discussion, that at this time, the event venue is responsible for following COVID guidance. And my concern, and I'm sure Chip can rule on this in the end, but the reason my concern, Mark, and you were on that email, is that if event takes place at Stage 4 Park, that makes city the event venue. So that's why I would not consider it the same. Whereas like a road race, right, they're gonna have different guidance because road race isn't all the people in one place. So it's all gonna have to be dependent on the guidance that comes forward. But it would allow people to start putting some applications in front of us to get moving. And if people, again, I don't want to cause, I I held this up in the beginning because of an administrative nightmare for Joanne and wasted meetings. So that's what this discussion time is about. Like, I'm curious, Joanne, like it sounds like what you're gonna get flooded with is road races, and we can permit them, and if they don't get permitted by the state, then they don't happen, but.
Well, here's my question on the road races in Gloucester. They all either start or finish on city property. So if we approve the road race, doesn't that make us responsible for?
So that's a good question.
I mean, I'm certainly not going to go to every one of these road races and make sure that people are standing 6 feet apart and wearing a mask and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So I would assume that when they say the person for the event, that would be the organization that's sponsoring the event, not the city just because it's on city property. We got all kinds of stuff that takes us out of everything. Otherwise, we'd
The
now
language
never
now
let
says
anybody
the
do
venue,
anything.
but
So I think you're right, because if you have an event at the Elks Club, the caterer who's running the event is the one responsible.
Is the one who's responsible for it. Yeah, it's the person who's running the event. But that's not the real issue. The real issue, Mark, is right now, road races don't come into phase 2. And phase 2 pretty much brings us back to normal, except with face masks, according to Brian. And so road races really aren't in the near future as far as we see, along with a lot of other major events. I understand not taking those. I even wonder whether we want to allow them in July, but because I think you're right, everybody's going to jump on it. At some point, we have to know better what's going to happen, right? If we're going to be able to do this stuff in the fall, then we want to start letting people plan it and have events and hopefully get the economy back and moving again. So it's a catch-22. The good thing is all these applications will be online, so it's not overburdensome for Joanne to do these. It's just online, and we can all see them as they come on and look at them and determine whether we even want to bring them to a meeting. So the new permitting process is going to have a few snags to start out with until everybody gets used to using it, but it's going to reduce the work of any one person for applications. So we're still discussing Joe's motion, right? Mark, that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
And I guess the only thing I would say we should clarify, though, I do think Stage 4 Park should be handled separately because there's many more pieces to Stage 4 Park in particular.
We should probably include the beaches as well, because a lot of these races
Oh, absolutely. And
start and finish at Good Harbor. You got the race that starts and finishes at O'Malley School. I don't know. I think if you open up to one race, you got to open up to all of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion?
My only other question is this, and I guess this can happen after the vote, whether we vote or not, but it'll help me figure out how I want to vote. My only other question would be, is there another date that we would consider? Is the feeling of the committee that it's July events happening after, say, July 5th is too soon? Or is it, when would this committee think it would be, would we just literally wait until the governor says phase 4, step 2 starts Monday and that's Friday and we don't meet again until, so he could come out, so the scenario being he could come out anytime this month and announce a date for phase 4, step 2. So Brian and I have been doing this game for quite some time here. And then we could potentially not have another meeting. He could come out next week, say that we don't have another meeting until May. Do we have a special? So I just would like to talk through that piece of it. Is it?
You want this
Those two
board to be
pieces.
flexible against the new guidance and to be able to
Yeah,
position it the right way, right? Like that's the goal.
yeah.
Why
exactly.
wouldn't we-
So-
Why
Go
wouldn't we accept applications and put a caveat on it that pending on governor's guidelines? Because if we wait for so long to hear them, we're never gonna hear, we're gonna get flooded with applications and they're not gonna have time to plan or produce an event.
Right, good point, Chad. We had talked about this before. One of the caveats would be you pick your date. There are no rain dates, or within that 1 or 2 days, but you're not going to get another opportunity to move it down the line. If I can't have it in August, but I could have it in September, I want to move it to September. That's not going to be an option. Once you pick a date, that's your date, and you have to stick to that date. Only because we're going to have so many people who are going to try to make up stuff all fall. If we go back into the fall, everybody's going to want to do something, and we're not going to be able to schedule everybody. That's just not going to happen. So we did talk about that, and that's a possibility.
Bill, I have a question, or maybe an idea, is that I know we meet every Thursday, the first Thursday of the month, but with this online application, if they are the annual events that we do, annual road races and everything, we don't have to stick to that first of the month, correct? If we open it up and then after we have these applications, we can just call a special meeting.
I think
Or
that's
how
what
does
Jill
the
was
committee-
trying to
how
ask.
does the committee feel about that?
I think that's like what Jill and I are trying to say is how can we make this group flexible against without, and I don't know, and I apologize, Madam Clerk, about the open meeting laws and notification, but that's the whole idea here is to be flexible against if there's a decision made, how quickly can we assemble this group lawfully, whatever, and to make
Yeah.
progress.
Not to interrupt, because if we're going to do everything online and not by paper and email like last year, that everybody tried to move everything, and we continued to another meeting because we didn't know what the guidelines were, at least it will give us, if they can, whatever date we set, I'm not saying July 1st or earlier, I'm just saying whatever date we set, then we all have the option of looking at that application. Okay, and if there's some concerns or anything, then I need 48 hours to call a meeting, preferably 72, but to post a meeting and stuff. So I don't know how the committee would feel about that, once we set a date, or we're just going to be hardline and say we're not accepting anything after, until a certain date.
My feeling would be is because of the circumstances we're at and want to get people up and running, I wouldn't have a problem with calling a meeting. We could even continue to do Zoom meetings and pull everybody together for 10 minutes. Hopefully everybody's seen the application, reviewed it, and made their comments, and we can just vote to approve them and be done in 10 minutes. If not, if there are concerns, obviously discuss them, but it wouldn't have to get into the details that we have before. We don't need to have the applicant come before us. If there are things we've seen all the time and we don't have any concerns or questions, it could make it a lot easier. Yeah, and I wouldn't have a problem with doing something like that.
I
Anybody
agree with
else?
Bill.
Happy?
I agree with Bill. Look, I made him smile.
About time.
Because I'm just saying, it's like if we, I like the idea of holding off, but then after we're going to get inundated and we're going to have to schedule a meeting and to get all the departments trying to, get together, especially if it's going to be a non-scheduled, regular meeting like we've been doing. It might be difficult. What might work for one day for Jill might not work for me or Bill or the fire department or the police department, to come in, or Mark, because once he gets into the busy summer seasons. So, that's an option also. And I just wanted to put it out there.
And we just need a quorum anyway, everybody, because we're online now, everybody has a chance to comment. So we would just need a quorum to push a vote through.
And if we did meet and just had a quorum and it was an issue where somebody had comments on, we could continue that out until we could get everybody together. But if nobody ever took care of all the issues right on Viewpoint, we're just voting to approve it formally. So no problem. And if we got to it and Jill had all kinds of questions and all kinds of concerns, we continue it till she could be at the meeting, and everybody could be there and address it. So yeah, I think it's an option. It helps move the process along. That's what the whole Viewpoint, the whole thing's about, is to help move everything along, right? And do it so we get everybody working in the same direction.
And start setting expectations. I think just getting a message out there. And I think So just for the purpose of the motion that's on the floor, one, I think we should talk about what if July 5th, if 4th is the date, the 5th, or if people are more comfortable with something later or earlier. And then my question for you, Chris, is so I don't think in the motion we need all the further details, but that would be the message crafted for the website.
Agreed, yeah.
So if you wanna take the lead on that, because your office is gonna have to approve it anyway.
Yep.
Sounds like you're hearing this, and then you could share with the committee.
Yep.
And see if the consensus, if anyone has an issue, otherwise, anyway, so that's a separate issue.
I'm with you.
So I'm thinking the date might be better if we're into the middle of July. Just it gives people a chance to get over July 4th and not sit around the whole July 4th because there's nothing to do and think of how I'm going to get my application in on the 6th, right? So maybe we just stretch it out to the 15th, but I'm also wondering if we want to leave that at this time open till we see what's happened closer to that date.
My only concern is, like Jill brought up before, the governor likes to just spring this information on us. He can come out June 15th and say, starting Monday, street festivals are now allowed, and then we're going to be just slammed if we don't have an earlier date than July 15th.
Just because he says they're allowed doesn't mean we have to allow them that Monday. We can push those dates off as long as we want.
No, that's true. We can set the standard, but we're going to get a lot of feedback from that.
Yeah, that's the reason I mean, again, it's up to the committee, but I think July 5th just gets the kids will still be in school. It gets us to a breathing, like gives us some breathing room.
To July?
No, the kids go to school till the end of June.
I thought you said July 15th.
No. That's why I said July 5th, because it buys us kind of, that's when most of this stuff happens. But I don't know. It's just kind of it's just an instinct that he's going to open. He did some of that last year, like
Well, I think
holidays, and then he waits till holiday to pass and gets past that. And then opens up. He did it with Christmas. He did it with July 4th last year. He did it around Thanksgiving.
Well, even the April school vacation, like you're not wrong. And there's certain, I mean, candidly, I can't help but wonder, President Biden has kept saying, 4th of July is kind of this kind of magic line in the sand too, which is why in my head, it's probably where the state will align with him as well, I'm guessing. But again, to your point, this is all, we can put in the mechanisms to adjust as we need to, which we've already addressed. But I think we're getting too caught up on a specific time frame, and we all know it's going to potentially change either way. So I'm still going to echo what Jill said, and I still like her idea of July 5th myself. But that's again for.
So are there rumors as to when they think we'll be back to the new normal? No,
honest
right?
to God,
That's
we're on
what I
all
thought.
these calls, and there's so many questions between the local boards of health and different officials about and they ask the most particular of questions of nuances, and they're, the state gets all these questions and they might refer you to random regulations as a placeholder, but they're getting killed right now. So I'm willing to bet they're eager for something to change themselves. But to Jill's point again, it's the vaccination rates, I think. So that's why the press releases from the governor this week were all focused on the federal and state efforts on the vaccination and to get to better vaccination rates so that we can probably get to this phase 2.
And those are increasing drastically.
Yeah, thankfully.
Except for the news yesterday, but they're heading in a good direction. I mean, we're really I'm done.
Congratulations.
But we're headed in the right direction to getting things done. And it seems there's an awful lot of people getting done. So that's what I mean. The experts say, I know what politicians do, but are the experts thinking we're going to be through this by the summer? From what I seem to hear, most of them are saying it's not going to be till late fall before we're back to any type of real normal. So that's why I'm wondering,
I think the health officials are especially looking at the new variants and the efficacy rates against with the vaccines against that, as well as kids getting potentially the vaccine. And so from the non-political lens, it looks like the officials, I would agree with you, Bill, they're probably more cautious and looking probably towards a late summer thing, but that's just their general guidance and thoughts, and again, these aren't hard things per se. These are just sentiments that we're hearing. So
okay. All right. So we still have Jill's motion on the floor.
I do wanna, I think it's smart to amend the motion as Chad suggested, off of the amendment to July 5th. No events, accept applications for events that will take place after July 5th with the, what's the right word? Anyway, with the descriptor that, with the consideration that they, at that time, they will need to be allowed by the state in order to actually take place. So they can be canceled within, what did we say last year, 48 hours?
Or up until the date event too.
Yeah.
We said that.
I don't think 48 hours is something that we need to have, because I think if it's gonna get canceled, it's gonna get canceled way before 48. You're gonna know way before 48 hours. Unless you happen to be the lucky one where the governor says it the day before your event and says, but even by then, if you're planning an event, I'm sure you're gonna cancel it by that date, so. So that's good. Any further discussion? We're amending this to the 5th or to the 6th?
The 5th.
Monday, the 5th.
Okay. Any further discussion on it? All right, then can we have a roll call vote, Joanne?
So Brian Newman,
Yes.
Chad Johnson. Chad,
Yes, yes,
okay. Phil Harvey,
Yes.
Joe Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Bill Sanborn,
Yes.
Joe Cahill,
Yes.
Mark Cole,
Yes.
and Joanne Sinos is, I say yes. So the motion passes to not accept applications until July 5th, correct?
No, I think it's that we will accept applications at this time for events taking place after July 5th.
July.
Okay.
So that we can start, we'll have May and June to look at some.
Okay.
And Chris will work on the language that'll get put on the website. And obviously we don't have to publicize that, Joanne, until you're ready, till you're happy
Right,
with the language
yeah.
and the mayor's, when the mayor's comfortable with it. And I think keeping Stage 4 Park, I know the mayor's office in the deep throes of summer planning, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we plan.
Throw this into the mix.
Yeah, sure. No, but that's actually a big reason why I wanted to join today. I don't have to tell you all on this call. There's almost a daily meeting where new guidance is changed, and we're literally trying to keep track of every regulation, every piece of guidance. And so that when somebody has a question for any of us as managers or people who are related to all these activities, the goal is here's a direct link for you to understand exactly why this is our policy, and this is exactly where it is on the state, and this is exactly how you can find it. But we want it to be comprehensive and exhaustive. We're getting to the point now where it's exhaustingly exhaustive. So we have to actually communicate, to Jill's point, because we all know people are chomping at the bit. It's now April 1st, and it's no joke. We need to communicate this stuff. So all that is to say is I'm totally in alignment with Jill. First of all, internally speaking, you will see some guidance or direction or a workflow of some kind, just to have us all on the same page. And to Jill's point, once again, the last thing I want to do is overwhelm anybody with the flood of information. So we're talking about beach stickers and making sure whenever the online registration for that doesn't overwhelm City Hall. We have to really think about the guidelines, but that also means effective communication, and that's across everywhere. So it's going to be a tall order, but the more we work together, which is what we're doing here, the better off we'll be in allowing the breathing there for us to digest, get ready, have the systems to support. And then, by the way, all the other things that we're doing, that's our jobs too. So, but we're working on it, I promise. And we expect to have some major updates as early as next week. So.
So I just,
Excellent.
okay,
When you get that done, can you make sure I get a copy of that? And then I will have Vicky open up the viewpoint and put that on the storefront. And just for the record, both me and Joanne get these applications, not just Joanne.
Okay, yes. Also, I do want to make a comment that we are an advisory committee,
Yeah.
To the mayor. Okay, so just because we voted this, the mayor still has to approve this. So I just want to make that clear that we're just advisory. So even though we voted on it, the mayor has to be on board with this also.
I'll be sure to enlighten her and make sure. we're all
No,
on the same
only
page.
because
No, I hear you. Trust me. Listen, I think everyone on this call,
Yeah.
I get it all around. Trust me.
Yeah,
say no
no,
more.
it is because, some people will just say, well, you voted on it, you haven't opened it up yet. But
That's
you
why
voted
Jill
on
stayed.
it, and then you're going to relay the recommendation to the mayor. And then once she approves everything, that's when we start opening up.
Understood. And you know what? I'll make sure I make it clear. That's a very good point. Because you're not wrong. And I think what Jill and I are trying to echo here is one message that we share one time that's consistent. And the way we do that is to make sure we're checking in with everybody. So the points well received is that we can't just authorize something and post it to the website without making sure everyone, including our highest elected officials, is on board. So it's well worth saying, and I hear you.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for getting it into the minutes, Joanne, more importantly.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. I'll stop talking.
Okay, all right, Bill, you can take the rest of the meeting, whatever you want to say.
Hey, thanks. All right, do we have any other concerns we want to discuss today? Anybody, when we do go to Viewpoint and it opens up and applications come, they go through me and Joanne first, and then we review them for completeness, and we'll follow them through. So everybody who's a member of this committee will get an email. And when you get the email, you do have to look at it. You do have to okay it to complete it is actually what it is. Any questions, give me a call. I'll help you out with it. It's not very difficult. To sometimes, like every new thing, it's just learning the new tricks to it.
Sounds like that's been a success, Bill, right? Like there's no other hiccups there. It looks like it's kind of organizing everything for everyone.
What, for the restaurant that we're using?
The Viewpoint.
Viewpoint working very well at the moment. Yeah, it has hiccups. Everything has hiccups, but
Sure.
the public doesn't really notice them too bad because
Good.
we have an expert who fixes them real quick, and that's Vicky. Vicky is very good at it. So
Very lucky.
we had a couple issues come up today, and they are taken care of. So
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah, she is an expert with it, and she's very good with it. So she's the reason why it looks so well. All right, if there's no other concerns or comments, I want to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Brian Newman,
Yes.
Chad Johnson,
Yes.
Phil Harvey,
Yes.
Joe Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Bill Sanborn,
Yes.
Bill Cahill,
Yes.
Mark Cole,
Yes.
and Joanne Sinos. Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.